Richard said he wanted to hear it. You said save it for later. He said he wanted to hear David, and so I could do the long one, if that's okay with everyone.
Absolutely.
It is for the state of Alabama. Because my book, The Universe is in Your Hands, has things for different locations in different states. And I did this one. And I need to delete all of this type. And start all over again. Sorry, I have to do all of this stuff. Janet the Luddite is trying to figure out how to do all of these things in different forms. And because I'm changing my mind on the poem, I'm having to switch it around. But thank you guys for listening, and we have the time for it, and I might run a little later just because I've just done all of this stuff. So forgive me, and thank you. But thank you all so much for listening, and I really, really appreciate it. There's one poem that I was going to close out with. It is in the book, The Universe is in Your Hands, yes. But it's also in the cc&d issue collection book that is titled Alone with the Stars. It's just about the coolest, one of the cool pictures from the James Webb Space Telescope. I really like these. I really like my astronomy stuff. So it's a cool shot based on a piece of accepted writing that is within the book. So it is in this massive volume, Alone with the Stars, that was just recently released this past month. And because it's A Universe is in Your Hands, edit, this is a poem that is titled Surprised at What You Might Find. The Universe is in Your Hands. No, it doesn't. It's not called The Universe is in Your Hands because it's just a long one. It's just called Surprised at What You Might Find. And it is in this book as well. It is for the state of Alabama. Get ready. It's a long one. When driving across the country, we usually just drive through Alabama, get somewhere else, leave Logan Square in Chicago to get to New Orleans for Mardi Gras weekend, that sort of thing. I haven't given Alabama much thought. Now, I may be totally ignorant of Alabama's civil rights legacy. I've visited Florida's Cape Canaveral, but I've never known of Alabama's U.S. Space and Rocket Center, so maybe I'm the one that's missing out. Then, June 24th, 2022 came when I learned the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, and abortion in Alabama instantly became illegal, except when the life of the mother is in danger, with no exceptions for rape or incest. I don't know if I should be more angry at the government taking away rights, or that such personal rights have been taken away from women. But then I heard the LeVar Burton, Geordie LaForge, the guy with the visor from Star Trek on The Next Generation, or that guy who did the Reading Rainbow on PBS TV series for kids. He did a mock show about an Alabama banned book for sexual content that was banned only because the author's last name was gay. So, yeah, I don't want to make inferences about a state because it happens to be in the South. I mean, I like New Orleans. I spent a good part of my childhood in Southwest Florida, and California is far too southwest, but they're as liberal as they come. So yeah, I can't really judge, so I don't know what to think when I hear that Alabama has allowed a new method of killing their prisoners. Okay. I come from a state where capital punishment was repealed for over half of this millennium, so hearing reports of an all-new execution piqued my interest. I knew that a lot of executions by lethal injection were stopped because drug companies wouldn't supply the drug that was a contributor to the killing. Sorry, it's technical explanation time. With lethal injections, they first use a drug to make them feel good. The second drug then stops their nervous system from telling their muscles to move, to stop them writhing, the violent shaking or thrashing, because nobody wants to see someone fighting for survive in their execution. And then the third drug actually kills them. Some may assume that drug companies wanted more moolah for their drugs, but I know for a fact that one company stopped supplying these drugs because they didn't support lethal injection. But none of this matters when the penal system wants to kill their prisoners and they can't get the drugs to make it happen. So Alabama came up with a plan. They thought, hey, we're going about this the wrong way. We can induce death by depleting oxygen, and hey, Why not make them inhale nitrogen? Because if nitrous oxide can make you laugh, then this has to be a humane way to go. You know, humane for killing people. All of that, and we won't even have to deal with those pesky drug companies again having issues with killing people. Next question. Is it safer? Maybe. Is it less painful? For whom? Oh wait, I'm playing the interrogator and the inquisitor at the same time. These eyes are just getting blurred and I'm losing my focus on the story. I think the point was that we didn't want to hurt the prisoners while we were killing them. Let that sink into your head for a moment. But the thing is, with the drugs and lethal injection, they numb you first, and then they stopped you from fighting back. And now, the prisoner gets a bag over their head for that nitrogen, and nothing for the sudden asphyxiation that they feel when they lose all of the oxygen from their body. Now, I've never asked you to imagine what it feels like to be drugged to sleep. But think about having a bag over your head while fully conscious, losing oxygen, then the ability to breathe while conscious. Imagine it. Just try. Because although the state said it would be a painless with, quote, unconsciousness in seconds, after the Alabama Attorney General called their first nitrogen gas execution textbook, witnesses disagreed when the execution lasted over 30 minutes as they watched Kenneth Smith unconscious for minutes before writhing on the gurney for 2 minutes as he was violently, quote-unquote, shaking, thrashing. Alabama reporter Lee Hedgepeth even said, quote, "I've never seen such a violent means of execution." Wait. Maybe I'm dwelling on this too much. Isn't this journalism's job to focus so much on the recent news? But you may never have even have heard of it. But wait a minute, maybe that is journalism Janet's job, to give you the news. For I could go on about the sort of history and illustrious past of Birmingham. I could go on about how even though they have so little Gulf Coast, they rave about their Gulf shores. Eat their peanuts while raving about their college football. But watch out for snails, because they have the most snails of any U.S. state by far. But wait a minute, NASA Space Camp is in Huntsville. The first rocket sent to the moon was actually built there. I mean, how cool is that? And if you look up Alabama news online, nitrogen execution is nowhere to be found. So maybe it's just that journalism bug that wants me to research it, because if I don't, who will? Maybe it doesn't occur to the world to learn about this, only to this inquiring mind. So let me just leave you with this. States like Nebraska and Mississippi and Oklahoma are also interested in this asphyxiation method, since they also cannot find the drugs to kill their prisoners. So many to kill, so little time. And let me quote Nebraska State Senator Lauren Lippenscott, quote, "If given the option, we are certain that the Nebraska Department of Corrections will use this method to humanely give justice to victims." Editor's note, justice in this context means killing someone. In this case, killing someone isn't murder, it's justice. Oh, there I go again, interjecting commentary instead of relaying the news. If you wanted mindless, fine. I could tell you that the windshield wipers were actually invented in Alabama. Alabama's state animal is the black bear, and, by the way, because of animal cruelty laws, it's illegal to wrestle bears in Alabama. Mobile, Alabama used to be the capital of Louisiana, and Mardi Gras first occurred in Mobile. Speaking of drinking, Alabama is the only U.S. state to have an alcoholic beverage as its official drink. It's funny. I thought I could start and end this with a cute little tie-in to Mardi Gras and leave it at that. But when you really want to know the full story, with more research, you'll be surprised at what you might find. I thought I could wrap this up by talking more about Alabama's stance post Roe v. Wade, put a little bow on it and say it was all done. But then I just heard on the news that after a patient wandered into an IVF clinic, a cryogenic, frozen nursery, and accidentally dropped an embryo vial, one couple sued. But a lower court did rule the embryos could not be defined as people or children and dismissed the wrongful death claim. So they took it to the Alabama State Supreme Court in Montgomery, and they, quote, ruled that frozen embryos can be considered children under the law. The court document even referred to the couple as next friends of the deceased embryo/minor. The Supreme Court ruling granted fertilized eggs the same rights as children, leads to Alabama hospitals halting IVF clinics treatments for impregnating women as most dominoes are continuing to fall when no other state has given personhood to fertilized eggs. I mean, even strict states won't prosecute problem pregnancies before the 24th week. This slanted ruling now limits the availability of modern health care to people who need it. I saw people struggling in Alabama now, not because of the destruction of the right to an abortion, but because they want to have kids, and now their court system and doctors are telling them that they're now stuck and can't. Here's a new twist. After the third IVF clinic in Alabama halted services because of this ruling, Gabby, an Auburn, Alabama potential mother, decided to ship her embryos to, wait for it, Texas, so that she could be implanted and have a baby. Then again, she might not be able to do this, for now that embryos are children, the companies handling the embryo transfers are unsure of the legal ramifications of shipping children across state lines, so they're halting their services too. If you've heard me before, you might assume that all I'm interested in is giving women the right to an abortion. But this overturning is so much more. Just ask young couples in Alabama with difficulty having children now that the state is stopping them. This fiasco still unfolds, but I don't know how to fight this as the dominoes are continuing to fall. For the more I learn, the more I fear how comfortable people are with the authoritarian state their government is turning into. People have asked our government to make decisions for everyone, and they didn't realize how badly these decisions could affect them. By telling the government to do the thinking for all the people, they didn't realize how much they would lose too. That was a long one. Thank you. And thank you guys. I know it was a really long one, but I was just thinking, I'll just talk about New Orleans and leave it at that. And then somebody drops a vial and it becomes, oh no, they're babies, these embryos, and all of the things that happen because state by state decisions change over the Dobbs v. Jackson ruling. Just fascinating stuff. And I know that was a long one. And I said a lot of weird little things. Windshield wipers were invented there. And there are so many snails. I don't know. These weird things about Alabama, but there are cool things and there are weird things that you find out. And I feel like I've talked, and we have still a little time to spare. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for listening to me. And does anybody else have anything to interject? Because I know that the next Poetic License is the first Sunday of the month, and that is the 2nd, because it is not a leap year, I believe.
Janet, that was a very, very good poem.
Thank you. Thank you. I know it was long.
It was very good. It was very, you know what? The strength of the poem is that you speak directly to the listener. Like you're sharing your observations with them, and so we listen. But
that's journalism Janet for you.
And the bizarre responses to such complex human,
And Republicans, and there would be Republicans that are like, I don't know if I should be supporting IVF clinics because we shouldn't be doing that for having babies. But then people are like, but I want babies, and now this law is saying that I can't with the IVF. So everybody's like, I don't know what to do.
You're a little late, you know. I can't tell you how many nieces and nephews I have who have babies through IVF. They're a little late with their questions. You know? You're absolutely right. And so that is why I complain for too much about it, I guess. But I hope I don't think you complain. Good. Art, and I think I mean, like, look, we all have our interests. And the thing about poetry is that we give voice to them, and so we can all hear. And I find you're you're educated without being annoying. Some people, like, all their poetry is education. You know, like, it's information, it makes me crazy. But that's not, your poetry isn't like that.
Well, that's why I kind of thought it was funny to do it. Like, well, I could tell you other things about Alabama, but what's
I like it, and I like the detours you take with the windshield wipers and stuff. I think it makes it more human.
Yeah, and you learn a bunch of different things, and I didn't even go talking about civil rights stuff in it because I was already dealing with one big issue that I just couldn't.
You're very, very smart. And I'm smart too, so I know when people are smart.
A smart club! Woo!
That's a joy. That's a joy. You know, I am not. I wish in another life I was a physicist. I have absolutely no education in it, but I love when people reflect on those things. I love it. You know, it's a gift that we bring to each other.
I started my schooling as a computer science engineer at U of I, which was the third best school in the country, and then I transferred into journalism because they call me Journalism Janet. So when I was looking for something to do, and that was why I wrote all the periodic table things. And then I just found out that somebody else told me that they heard that somebody else has a cat named Callisto, but there happened to be a physicist, and I'm like, well, there you go. In good company. And Titan was sitting here for a while. I've got Titan and Callisto and hanging out. But anywho, that was just babbling too much. And I would love it, David, if you're not able to host because John F. McMillan will be next month, and that you will just be attending and being your awesome self.
That'd be cool.
That would be double plus awesome. And I think it's a second now because it's a 28-day. So keep your calendars open. I will send out notes a week in advance. And thank each and every one of you so much. This is I always just am like thank you too much because it's always excellent, cool hearing all of you. You guys are the best. And happy early Valentine's Day for those who care and celebrate it somehow or whatnot, you know, happy, you know, whatever, and have a wonderful February. And for people in the stupid cold, I'm really, really sorry because it's cold here in the 20s and 30s, but it's 80 right now outside, and then it'll get cold because that's our winter. But anywho, but sorry for dealing with the snow. I hope you get through it, and I hope it ends sooner for you than later. And thank you for staying awake for us. I'm just gonna pull on my earrings. I'm sorry I'm playing around with them, but thank you for people across the pond for staying as late as you have been. You are all excellent, cool, and our man is in charge. And I hope everyone got the things. I'm going to get another thing and give you lots of coffee because you deserve it, man. He definitely does. Thank you for the Zoom. Thank you. And I will see you all next month. Thank you.
You and Davey.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.